Hello, everyone, and welcome to the debut of Wrestling Addicts right here on this station. I'm your host, Jimmy Anderson, and this is the show where we'll be discussing anything and everything in the world of wrestling, past, present, and future. And with me, let me go ahead and introduce to my right, the head of BTP Sports as well as Epic Films, Big Richard Walker, as well as next to me to my immediate right is Rafael Guzman, and professional wrestling independent heavyweight champion multi-times is Al Rage Walker.
That's 13 times, don't forget
13 times, I won't
Oh,
forget.
yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a lucky number for you, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. And being our first show, I thought we'd go ahead and kind of introduce ourselves a little bit. I thought I'd go ahead and start. I've been a wrestling fan for over 20 years, and my name is Jimmy Anderson, as I said. I've been an actor as well as an assistant videographer for my brother Chuck Anderson's company, Old School Media, who's helping out with this show in the booth right now. Hey, Chuck. And I also help cover wheelchair sports. I've done PA announcing for that as well. And I hope to get into broadcasting at some point. And why don't we go ahead and go to you, Rich? Tell us about yourself and maybe some of your favorite wrestlers as well.
Okay, well, start with myself. I have a sort of a speckled background in sports. Started off many years in high school, ranging from I was a four-sport athlete in high school, and followed my passion for football. I eventually became a minor league football player as a three-time played 3 All-Star games at the minor league level with various teams. And my passion for wrestling is something that has always transcended throughout that. I mean, I go back to the days of Junkyard Dog, Stagger Lee, Mid-South Wrestling, Paul Bosch, WCCW with the Von Erichs and the Fabulous Freebirds.
Old school.
I'm old school to the bone. So I am a wrestling addict.
You are a wrestling
addict.
addict.
I am a wrestling addict.
Very good. I think, Rafael, you're a wrestling addict too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely. My favorite wrestler of all time is Bret the Hitman Hart. Best there is, best there was, best there will be. Great technical wrestler, and he's awesome. So pretty sure that you guys could agree with me on that right there.
Oh, I'm into that.
And I've been watching wrestling since I was about 5 or 6, so definitely been a big wrestling fan and still going.
Terrific, absolutely. All right, Rage, we saved the best for last. Al Rage Walker.
Well, I really should come over there and body slam him for not saying me being a favorite wrestler, but I got on this style knowledge suit, so I'm going to let you make it today.
You're styling and profile.
Appreciate it.
I'm just here. I'm a 13-time world heavyweight champion. I've been in the business now right at 14, maybe 15 years. I've been with WWE. I did a little stuff with WCW. I'm doing world tours all over the world independently. I played minor league football and pro wrestling at the same time. Matter of fact, I wrestled in the Sportatorium.
Wow.
Remember Sportatorium? We had a match on that Friday, and then I turned around on that Saturday night there in Dallas and played football the very next day. So my body's been through it, but by good training, guard, and no steroids, that's why I'm still whooping you-know-what to this day.
Amen to that.
Yes, sir.
Most recently, we saw you in the Coastal Mania Battle Royal, as a matter of fact, down in Galveston.
Right. Coastal Mania was a good experience. I got a chance to see a lot of the old guys. Ron Simmons, when I was with the Nation of Domination.
That's right.
Damn.
He was there, and also Rikishi.
Yeah.
He's a real good wrestling guy and good person. I got to see X-Pac and also Razor Ramon. He had his personal demons he was dealing with, but because of people loving him and giving him the opportunity, he's back on his feet and looking good. So it was good to, see the fans and see, guys that was there when I was back there with WWE and stuff, and everybody's moving along and keeping the business alive, because it's a tough business.
Yeah. I'm surprised nobody mentioned Ric Flair as being one of the top wrestlers. He's one of my all-time
Oh, no
favorites.
doubt.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Meeting him was a great pleasure. I got to meet him one time, and there was just something about him, a certain
He had
flair.
that charisma. That's
Exactly.
why he was just awesome. And he knew how to work the crowd. He was like such a good heel, and he was a good technical wrestler also. But he just got over real big with the fans also.
Ric Flair is one of those guys that brings the entire package to the table.
Amen.
The way he looks, the way he walks, the way he carries himself, the way he works the crowd. He knows how to take a guy that probably don't know how to wrestle and make him look like a superstar.
Yeah.
And that's what made Ric Flair what Ric Flair is today, because I don't care who he's in the ring with, it's going to be a great match.
Oh,
As a
definitely.
matter of fact, this is I know that you forgot this. You probably thought I forgot about this story too. But one of the things that I think started your career was we were at Monday Night Raw. Was it Monday Night Raw? Was it? No,
it was back when the complex and it was called Summit.
it wasn't. It wasn't Raw.
The
though.
Compact Center was called the
It was
Summit.
a regular house show.
house show.
Yeah,
and
house show.
Ric Flair was there. We had some seats there really close. And Ric Flair made it a point where he's doing his strut. He's walking to the ring.
He's wooing.
And he stopped and he looked in the crowd and he looked at this guy right here. And he starts talking smack to this guy. Right here. And Al walked up to him and they put him on the Jumbotron,
Right.
and that place went nuts. And you screamed at Ric Flair. That was before you were involved in wrestling.
I had nothing to do with wrestling. The only thing about it, all I knew was that here he was calling me out in front of everybody. My brother and everybody, they were just dying laughing. Oh, Ric Flair called you. I called you. And I'm like, it wasn't nowhere in the world I was going to let him get away with that. I had to hear this for the rest of my life. So I took my jacket. I had a muscle shirt on underneath it. And I stepped one leg over the rail. Security ran out and said, I'm not going nowhere. Just chill. And I yelled at him back, and the whole combat center went nuts.
Oh, man.
Kids ran down from the rafters. They were surrounding me. And it was the main event. It was Bret Hart versus Ric Flair.
Right.
And it took about 20 to 25 minutes to calm everybody down
Man.
before they taking.
That would have been a good run-in.
Oh, definitely.
That
It was
would've
an
been
angle
good.
for sure.
Yeah.
Now-
And when I left, kids was running around me. I was staring on the girls. I didn't know what to put. Just put Big Al,
Yeah.
It was crazy, but
And you've
that's how I got started.
so you'd been interested in a wrestling career at that point?
I just went because I got some free tickets.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And we had front row seats. It was like I was sitting right here. My brother and my other friend was right, and he just walked straight up to me, straight in the eye, and said, "Hey, you, I can kick your butt and beat you all over the place right now." And he did the woo. And man, when he did that, everybody was like, "Oh man!" And my brother, they were just dying laughing. I said, "Oh no, he's not gonna punk me like that." So
No
I
way.
got up and challenged him, and
Yeah.
he backed off, and then the crowd went nuts.
See, that's something I loved about, especially old school wrestling, is
Oh,
that
yeah.
they worked the crowd.
Right.
They were able to work the crowd, and that's what I like about independent wrestling now. When you go to see shows, it's really, when you're there, you're more involved.
Exactly.
When it's for television, it's more for the television.
More for
cameras
television.
a lot.
What they don't understand is that if you bring that chemistry of working the crowd with TV, it'll be even more entertaining. Because now you got the crowd involved with the action, and then the people at home be like, "Man, I got to go check this out because
Oh, yeah.
he might point at me next." And you got completely sold out stadiums around the country, But for some reason they pull away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot less interaction.
Right.
Really, it kind of, it's not as personal now, is it?
Right. No. And
Well, I think because a lot of the training is taught different. It's taught now more like a commercial than rather than action. And what I mean is the guys are shot through the schools, shot through the gyms, and then they placed on TV. And then you wonder why guys look so good and they out there, but they don't last long. Where if you look at the guys from the Attitude Era, they all had to do independent shows first. So they learn how to work a crowd of 200 to 5,000. So you get in front of 17,000, 18,000 people. Oh, this is a buffet. You really gonna cut up now. And that's why the Attitude Era was so great compared to what's going on now.
Tell you another one of my favorites. One of the best at cutting promos. I don't know if he was necessarily the best, but Roddy Piper.
Oh, yeah.
Cut
Man.
some of the best
Piper's Pit.
unscripted
Piper's
and
Pit.
Piper's
Yes.
Pit.
Yes.
Some of the-
Coconut incident.
Like
Oh, yeah.
the coconut incident
Yep.
with Jimmy Snuka. He's
Yep.
another
Yep.
great one, Jimmy Snuka.
Yep.
And that whole line, just when they think they've got the answers, I change the questions, improvised. And guys don't get to do that now. Don't
Nope.
they script it now?
They're not being taught that. So it's like the fans are being cheated because they're not bringing the full package to the table anymore. Everything is we got to hurry because of commercial. You got to hurry because of this. They're trying to squeeze all this other stuff in, and then at the same time they're pulling the quality out.
Yeah.
So that's what the fans are getting when they watch this on TV.
But you said they're not teaching them. How do you teach somebody to do a promo? I mean, it's got to really come from in here.
It all comes. It's part of your training. You have to get in shape. You have to learn how to take bumps, and you have to learn how to talk in front of the mic.
Right.
And if you're missing one of the three, you're not going to be any good. You're not going to last. You're not going to, progress in the business to where you can be a star. you just another body in some trunks. That's why you see the rotation is so fast. You see guys come out there and they put all these millions of dollars into him, and then he don't last because he's not ready.
Now here's another example. Andre the Giant, terrible on the mic,
Mm-hmm.
but he could just win the crowd over, I guess, either when he was a baby face or even a heel. He kind of encapsulated the crowd just by being there. He's one of those guys that had that aura, I think.
Well, if you look at Andre's matches, as large as this guy was and as powerful he was, when a guy hit him, and if the guy hit him made it look good,
He sold it.
He sold it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
He sold it. He made it like, well, this guy's gonna be powerful because if you make an Andre rock, this is a strong fighter. You see a guy get hit by a 2x4 and he bounced right back up and right back in action. What is that?
He used to do that spot on the ropes, right? When he used to wrap his hands around the rope.
Exactly.
And
Good
he
point,
did it
Raphael.
perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. I think that devalues it whenever somebody gets hit with a steel chair or hit with a 2x4 or whatever. And doesn't it devalue it?
It
I mean,
does.
you're not selling it.
It does.
It goes back to the basics of training. When that is taken away or the quality is not there, then the quality that's supposed to be displayed to the fans, they don't get to see it.
Right.
Yeah. And, it's where the psychology comes into it too, doesn't it? I mean, another one that used to sell pretty well, I thought, was Mr. Perfect, Kurt
Oh,
Hennig.
most
man,
definitely.
perfect.
Yeah.
Most
Best.
definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
he had the full package. He was
Yeah.
a great technician. He was great at psychology.
Great on the mic.
Great on the mic. Exactly.
And then he was another one of those guys that made the guy in the ring with him better. I think that's what you mentioned earlier, Al, is that you have guys that could carry the product. You have guys that could take a match and they can make it, something that's even more memorable. They can take it, make the spots better. They work the crowd together.
So you can imagine if this guy like Mr. Perfect can make a regular Joe like a superstar. Just think when you get two superstars up in there.
Exactly.
I know. And I tell you what, we're going to have to take a break right here, and then we're going to come back and talk about more wrestling right here on Wrestling Addicts. Stay with us.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Anderson, the host of Wrestling Addicts, right here on this station every single week. I'll be joined by Raphael Guzman, as well as Big Al Rage Walker. And we're going to be here. Wait a second, there's somebody coming on the set. Who are you? Get out of here! Oh, man, what's wrong with you? See, that's why I'm Wrestling Addicts. And I'll go! All right, welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. I'm Jimmy Anderson, along with Richard Walker and Raphael Guzman, as well as Big Al Rage Walker. And in that last segment, we were talking about some of the best wrestlers of all time and the way they cut promos and and their effectiveness at psychology. And I thought in this particular segment, guys, we talk about the managers of wrestling, some of the greats like the Grand Wizard as well as Classy Freddie Blassie. My personal favorite, Bobby the Brain Heenan. I don't. What do you guys think? I mean, I thought he was probably the best manager. Good mic skills, good psychology, great at putting the
Bobby
wrestlers over.
was definitely, I would say, one of the innovators of the business. He brought a lot to the table. He would take a wrestler and actually make him into a star.
He was a mouthpiece.
He was a definite mouthpiece. He was like a Ric Flair, but a manager.
Right.
That's the way I could describe Bobby.
Yeah,
Right.
he had some great ideas, such as when he said that wrestlers manage as wrestlers and they wrestle as managers, because he took bumps and he was able to talk for the wrestlers as well. And gosh, the people that he had to put over, like anybody remember the Missing Link?
Yeah.
Anybody remember that guy?
Right.
And the Barbarian
Right.
and those guys. You know,
Right.
he had to put them over and make them superstars, and he could. I mean, he had
And,
that great
and, and that was the key about Bobby, because of the fact that he can take characters like those characters and make them appealing to the audience, and they actually got over. They really did.
I personally, Paul Heyman to me is, right now, when we're talking about managers, there's a lack of managers
Absolutely.
in pro wrestling.
Absolutely.
But Paul Heyman is one of the guys that he's just awesome.
Yeah.
He's good. He's a good trash talker.
Yeah.
He's good at promoting, an event, or just he's just awesome. That's what
He
you're missing.
embellishes a character. I mean, the perfect example was when he was involved with the Undertaker match with Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
let's face it, Brock is bland as a raw potato.
When he came,
Yes, you're
when he
right.
came out dressed like Paul Bearer, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that was brutal.
Brock,
It was.
I mean,
But it worked.
worked, yeah.
Heyman, he takes the characters and he blows them up to be bigger than they are.
Right.
And the thing that's sort of a throwback for him, which a lot of the successful managers are, is he is a guy that works the crowd. There is a single person on the planet that has ever watched an ECW or a WWE promo that doesn't have an opinion about Paul Heyman.
And who's a Paul Heyman guy?
Paul
I am. I like.
I'm
I like
a Paul Heyman
I
guy.
like Paul.
Yeah.
Heyman.
Paul Heyman does an excellent job at rubbing the crowd the wrong way.
Right.
He can take a milkshake and turn it into a bad beer. I mean, he just really know how to, piss you off. And
Yeah.
Amen.
I mean, when you put the camera in front of him, it's like, okay, I got to see what he's gonna say next.
Yep.
Yeah. Almost the modern day Bobby Heenan, if you will, just less funny, I guess, in some ways.
I think when you compare the two, it's like two different styles.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan really talk a lot of trash, but Heyman is more intense.
Right.
Yes.
He's more aggressive and
I think Heyman's more reality based also.
right.
Yeah.
And Heyman makes you want to slap the hell out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be real. Whereas that Bobby, you just want to throw popcorn at him.
Right.
Well, I think the difference is with Heenan. Heenan is a guy that he takes a character, he embellishes the character.
Right.
Heyman is the guy that actually they run a storyline through Heyman
Yeah.
instead of through the guy that he's managing.
That's true.
Right.
You don't run a storyline through
Right.
Brock Lesnar. You run it
Right.
through this is Paul Heyman
Right.
pushing Brock Lesnar to be the guy that beats the Undertaker.
And,
This is
and-
Paul
and-
Heyman.
and that is happening because of the fact that the wrestler, the quality of the wrestler has decreased.
That has.
That's why it's happening. Whereas that before it was the opposite. But because now the manager have to carry the wrestler, then that's why it's like that.
Right.
Well, I mean, he was managing Ryback for a while, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that went. I mean,
Again,
it failed.
it failed.
Good
yeah.
body.
Miserably.
And it wasn't Paul Heyman's fault. that it
again,
failed either.
good body, basic techniques, but he wasn't ready.
Nope.
Put a mic in front of him, he's dead.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
In the ring, he had basic skills. He couldn't sell. He had strength, but that's all he brought to the table. Anytime you get in the ring and you kind of similar look like somebody else, like they was calling him Goldberg, that's an insult, man.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
an
yeah.
insult. I don't want to get in the ring and people start yelling at me, junkyard dog, junkyard dog. That's embarrassing.
Are they going to remember the Junkyard Dog? I mean,
Right.
that's been so long.
Right.
You
Yeah.
want to get out there and establish who you are.
Right.
And if that's not happening, then you need to go back to the starting line and figure out what the problem is.
You know, another thing about Paul Heyman I've noticed, he's a great salesman too.
Oh,
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt.
I mean, the way he
Yeah.
put over Brock Lesnar on that Monday Night Raw shortly after he won the belt, actually the next night, in fact, he cut that. I don't know how many minutes that promo was, but
Yeah.
I was
He
into
made
it
it
the
sound
entire
legit.
time.
He
Right.
made it sound legitimate because a lot of people were pissed off the Undertaker lost.
Right.
Yeah.
But even now, like I think about it legitimately,
Yeah.
because you know Brock Lesnar's a UFC fighter and all that, and a former UFC fighter. So Paul Heyman showed it like legitimately. This guy is the only one that could take him out
Yeah.
and beat the streak.
And then the squash on John Cena at
Right.
SummerSlam.
Yeah.
You know, and then the promo he cut the night after, and he compared the fact that Steve Austin was on top for a few years, The Rock for a few years, John Cena for 10 years, and Brock Lesnar comes along and just destroys him.
And
that
that's,
promo was
in
just
my opinion, is a mistake. I mean, I'm sorry,
You
that
think so?
just is a mistake because Brock Lesnar is not a full-time wrestler. Let's just get serious.
Yeah.
He's a come-in guy when I feel like it. I better get what I want, and then he's going back to MMA. So by destroying The Undertaker, destroying John Cena, who is supposed to be one of the best ever,
Yeah.
with Brock Lesnar, who's going to go back to UFC again, you are killing the wrestling business. Now you're making the wrestlers like wimps,
Right.
you know, because it could have been anybody else if the streak should have been broken. Me personally, it should have never been broken.
Yeah, like
It took 21 years to get to this point. Leave it where it is. It was one of the main sellers of WrestleMania.
Right.
I mean, next year now, what they gonna sell?
I don't want to see the Undertaker at WrestleMania anymore. I'm sorry.
Well,
Like,
Well, what's the relevance of it?
Exactly.
what
Relevant.
Exactly. That was the
Exactly.
appeal. Was the
But
streak.
let's look at it this way also. Champions, you know, you talk about part-time. Do they need to be on television every single week? I
If
mean,
you the champ, you're supposed to be there.
Yes.
What's his name? CM Punk had no problem being there.
no,
He got burned out though. That's why he.
Yeah.
Well, anybody would, but when he was champ, he was champ for how long? 400 some days.
Yeah.
He was on Monday Night Raw every Monday night, doing what he had to
He was
do.
on House
And it
SmackDown.
went on.
But see, that's the problem right there. There's so much wrestling television now that, you know, you see, you know, it's like the pay-per-views don't make as much impact as they used to.
Well-
which is why, you know, the part-time champion idea is kind of interesting to me.
No, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because when Brock Lesnar went over on Undertaker, the entire WWE universe was pissed off.
Yeah.
When you can silence 78,000 people,
Oh, gosh.
And not in a good way either.
okay?
Well, that's why I was telling you. Paul Heyman made it sound legitimate. Personally, me, was I pissed off? Yes.
Yeah.
You remember we were watching it.
Yep.
I was like, what? You know, like I couldn't believe it, but that's how good Paul Heyman is, a manager, that he sold it, even though people didn't, you know, nobody wanted the Undertaker to lose like that.
Yeah, but you gotta look at the point too. It took 21 years to build Undertaker to this point.
Right.
Undertaker is known as a creature of the darkness, supernatural powers. You know, something like that is supposed to be powerful enough to stomp any mortal human being. That's
Right.
the way it was supposed to be scripted out. Then, when it's time to kill it, it's got to be somebody of special powers as well, along with physical ability to defeat him.
Right.
And if it would have went out like that, like say when they'd have brought Sting in, oh man, Sting and Undertaker, and then Sting wins, because people didn't want to see Sting.
They've
We
been
want to
wanting
see that match for 15 years.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, that would have been more believable.
It should have been some type of
a run in or something.
phenomenal. Oh my God! They had the opportunity to have the jaw dropping moment. If you're gonna end the Taker streak, it needs to be a screw job by somebody that can carry it and carry that heat and run with it. Because I know that the saying was the reason that they ended the streak was because this is Taker's last match, and you know, tradition is in wrestling. When it's time for you to go, you pass your heat on to someone
But
else.
it's the way he went.
To
Right.
your point, you don't pass your heat on to a guy that's not serious about the business.
Exactly.
You don't pass your heat on to a guy that's going to be back in UFC or some other MMA promotion in the next 18 months.
And watch this here. Watch this scenario. Now, let's say Brock Lesnar goes back to UFC in January. He gets behind whipped. Now what?
Exactly.
What that makes WWE look like?
Right.
Now, he done whooped all these big-time wrestlers. He go back to UFC and get his butt kicked. And that's possible.
Yeah.
Now what?
According to his last fight, is like that because he
That's
got
I think
beat
that you're right.
down the last
That's-
time we saw him in the
That's the
octagon.
difficulty. But,
Oh, yeah.
but can WWE put in some sort of a clause where he's got to be there?
No,
legal?
I mean, if that wasn't pre-negotiated in his contract,
He got his contract the way he wants it.
Exactly.
He got it his way.
They're
He got it
literally
his way.
They're literally rolling the dice on the WWE brand on Brock Lesnar's career because let's face it, Cena's probably at the end of his run. I mean, we seen the best we're gonna get from Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't use guys like Randy Orton, who's closer toward the end of his career now,
Right.
and
not
you don't
pushing
have
Dolph
any
Ziggler.
talent coming behind him that could be that next level of guy that could be the main event talent to push the brand. So they're rolling the dice on Brock Lesnar.
Let's consider this, though. Back in 1997, Hulk Hogan was a part-time champion, but they had Nitro every week, pay-per-views every month. What would you say the difference is in that scenario?
I can tell you exactly why, because you had a much better roster and the guys that were better prepared that can easily come in and take Hogan's spot or Kevin Nash's spot, or then you had Goldberg running wild. I mean, you had so many different guys that can carry that torch. That's what made it so popular. And then you had Monday Night Raw, the way you had all these stars over here. So, hey, it was on.
And I think also just from the fan perspective, the fact that even though he was part-time, Hogan was committed to the business.
Yep.
Yeah.
You say Hulk Hogan, wrestling. You say
Yep.
Brock Lesnar, UFC, WWE, failure at football.
Yeah.
You don't know what you can get from Brock Lesnar.
Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness. I mean, and those are good points. Absolutely. I guess you need to be committed to that, which is what John Cena was, and probably forever
Right.
will be.
Exactly.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is he not the most requested Make-A-Wish
Yep.
Yes.
In the
person,
history.
if not
Yep.
wrestler?
Yep.
Or is it just person in general?
Person in
That's the
general.
thing about Cena.
Yeah.
He gets heat. We all give him heat, but at the same time, he's the guy.
He
Like right
represents
now.
the company well. He
Represents the
represents
company
wrestling well.
And-
And that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the people don't really care much for John Cena, the wrestling fans. But
Well, the adult fans don't. The Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
folks,
Yeah,
the kids
absolutely.
They love 'em.
yeah. Well, I tell you what, folks, we got to take another break, and then we'll be right back with more Wrestling Addicts. Stay with us.
Let's start off with the NFC East because it seems like we have some fans in here that are NFC East fans, particularly Cowgirls. The New York Giants, we can kind of just throw them underneath the bus because that whole new
not even
offensive
a factor.
scheme.
Oh, my goodness.
Eli Manning even though he has 2 Super Bowl rings, he sucks.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying.
That was a little harsh.
Straight up.
You didn't call any other quarterback in that whole division sucks. You made the
does,
Super Bowl
but-
champion suck, but you didn't use that reference
Uh-oh.
to
To a Tony
RG3's
Khan.
play
How
right
long
now.
ago was he a Super Bowl champion?
How long
was
has
like
Rumble
3 years
been one?
Oh.
Oh,
Shots fired.
Captain.
no, wait,
I have been fat, skinny, and fat again since the last time that Eli Manning was an effective quarterback.
Look,
We're talking about now.
And
what have
let's
you done
talk
for me
now.
lately, Eli?
Right. And
What have you done for me lately?
Rumble just got off the surgery table. Okay. RG3 is still in a brace. So far as I'm concerned, the whole division sucks. So you're just picking the best of the suckiest.
Still proven otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, it's still a gimmick offense because I think part of the reason why they were successful is that they didn't have a lot of film per se on this Kelly offense. With the conversions that he made, with the adjustments that he made to the NFL level. I think that having a guy like Shady McCoy is a luxury. But these defensive coordinators are smarter than you give them
they
credit
are.
for. They studied this offense. They studied that team.
Not your defensive coordinator.
Oh, shot.
The Texans have just got a real deal quarterback. In my case, which we said,
Go blue.
hey, where did no blue come from?
Ryan Mallon went to Michigan, man.
No, he didn't.
Goodness.
He went to Arkansas.
He transferred from
He
Michigan.
transferred from
He
Michigan.
transferred from Michigan.
Because
He
they
graduated
You
from
see,
Arkansas.
it's the Michigan rule. If you
we go.
If you in Michigan,
if you step off the plane
And
in,
you're in
in
Michigan-
the state of Michigan and you do something, you're successful, then they steal credit for it.
who are your picks for the AFC South and why?
You gonna start with me?
Well, yeah, you the big mouth. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Simply put, Indianapolis Colts and the three dwarfs. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line on the AFC South. The Colts are going to win 12 or 13 games. They're going to have their way with the AFC South. It's not even going to be close.
Oh, wow.
Agreed.
So you just disagree with all of my defense that I have in Houston? Really? That's not a word.
The Indianapolis Colts are going to beat the Texans
That's
twice.
not what I asked
They're
you.
going to beat the Jaguars twice. They're going to beat the Titans twice. They're going to win 12 or 13 games.
They're gonna sweep the division.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
They're up 21-0 on the Texans right
I
now.
don't think they're going to sweep that. My team has had some changes and some flaws. That's honest. I think the Cowgirls' fault is they can't ever be honest with themselves. They're still confused. Which one? I don't know. You don't know what side you're on. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Oh, boy.
But anyway, the point is, I think the team will definitely do better than it did last year.
So that's not,
Hey.
that's not saying much.
It's saying much because
You got off from the ground to your knees.
you should let me finish your sentence.
I'm just saying.
Y'all stay on y'all knees in the Cowboys.
You two have built up quite a rivalry because we know that you are a Cowboys fan,
Well, of course.
and we
Cowgirl.
know that you, Captain, are a Texans fan.
Die hard.
And now you
And we
live
know,
here.
and we know that Cowboys slaughter cattle.
Cowgirls go get their old rings out
Oh.
the trunk and start shining them up. Man, remember when? Remember when? That's what they do every time they lose.
He has 2 division champion T-shirts.
I bet you they come out a lot.
She probably paid $150 for 2 of them because they're not used to success. They were happy to get She's got 2
And
T-shirts.
Tony Romo won you one when?
We got a division title.
I said
with Romo.
Tony Romo.
We got a
won you
division
one.
title with Romo.
One, and then what happened in that playoff game?
Oh, he fumbled the
Did-
snap.
It was
He won it for the other team. What? Say
It was
about
against the second
Oh,
round
that's
opponent.
Seattle. That was that Seattle year.
When we go to the playoffs, we get buys. We don't sneak and barter and beg and trade slushies for playoff spots.
All right, welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. We're having a great discussion here. It's our debut episode right here on this station. We hope that you'll be with us here each and every single week. And I thought now that we've been talking about, the male dominated part of wrestling, I thought we'd switch to the female aspect of wrestling.
Ladies.
The divas,
Oh, yes.
the knockouts of today, plus the wrestlers of yesteryear, the females. Like the one who really set the trend, I would say, is the fabulous Moolah.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Moolah
absolutely.
and Mae Young.
Moolah and Mae Young, absolutely. And what do you guys think of women's wrestling in general? It's not really high regarded as much as the men's wrestling, but I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Well, if you look at, again, the talent,
Yeah.
it's more Barbie doll and not athletes. I mean, you got to have a good mixture. You got to have a little Barbie dolls. You got to have a little bit of athlete. You got to have a little bit of everything and make it interesting. The problem is more plastic than it is athlete.
And silicon. You can't forget the
Yeah,
silicon
yeah,
part.
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
When somebody like, I don't know what y'all thought of Trish Stratus. I mean, she looked great, but I never thought she was that great of a female wrestler.
I actually thought Trish was pretty good.
I
She
I
got
think-
better.
I
She
think
got
Trish
better.
is great.
She became good.
She
Like
became
at
Right.
first she wasn't,
Right.
but
Yeah.
then she became like one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trish Stratus, in my opinion, brought almost a complete package because she looked good. She was a tough girl.
Yes.
So she was in the ring with Jazz and
Ivory,
Lita,
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, and these girls can go.
Yeah.
I mean, these
Molly
are some
Holly was
wrestlers.
good
Yeah.
too.
And she hung right in there with them. So, and Molly Holly was good too.
Yeah.
She was
So she wasn't in it with these girls. Now they take small bumps and they don't want to get hit too hard.
Right.
They're more worried about their makeup and stuff. They look the same way they did after a match when they came out. It's just not.
They
good
don't. They
stuff.
don't learn
She got
the
better.
technique because,
Yeah.
like your point, when Trish first started, she was really raw.
Yeah.
You know, and she might do the girl slap or something like that. I mean, this is a woman that learned how to do
Everything.
everything in the ring.
Yeah.
I would almost equate her to sort of being like a female version of The Rock because she I mean, I'm
don't
serious.
know.
I mean, she carried the brand from the woman's side.
She did. She
You know,
did.
for
So she's
several
your
years.
favorite out of all the female wrestlers?
Not
Which one's your
all of
favorite?
them, but out of the Attitude Era, she was.
I'm talking about in general. Like
Oh,
your
in
favorite
general,
of all time.
I'd have to go. Of course, Fabulous Moves. You have to. Yeah, she's someone you just got to pay respect to because of what she brought to the table. I think someone who's completely underrated and is forgotten quite a bit is, of course, Jazz and Jacqueline.
Jazz is
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Jazz is
Those
tough.
two, Jazz, Jacqueline, and then Ivory.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, Ivory is very good.
Victoria's
Yeah.
good too.
Victoria's
Victoria's
good.
good.
Yeah.
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 I just never got into Trish Stratus for some reason. I mean, I liked her.
I got
as a
into her.
wrestler.
I don't know too many guys that didn't get into it.
Well, I don't know. I guess because there was so much other untapped talent in some ways, like Lita, for example.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she was used pretty well for a while, but it always went back to Trish Stratus.
But she had that lucha libre style.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It was her style that pushed Lita, whereas that Trish Stratus was more like I look at it like a female Hulk Hogan or kind of like borderline Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause she went hard when she got in
Yes,
the
she
ring.
did.
She did.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised we didn't bring this name up because, you know, although it probably took some surgical alterations to, for it to you know, soften
say
up a little
Santina.
bit, but China.
China.
You know,
Oh,
what
gosh.
she did
Yeah,
for
China.
China,
I
in
didn't
my
like her.
opinion, she was pushed too much.
I think
Amen
so.
to that.
I think
And,
so.
and I'm gonna tell you why, because to keep her in the realms of the women, cool. But when she started beating up guys,
Right.
and we talking about big guys,
Right.
that's when I was like, it's too
When
much.
she was Intercontinental Champion, they
That
put
was
her
too
over
much.
on
That was no.
Jeff
on
Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Could you
that was
imagine
it.
her as the champion, the WWF champion at the time?
Because
Could that have hurt the business? Or
it
the-
hurt the
would have.
business when she became the Continental Champion, because you had all these other guys that should have been champion, and then here comes China out of nowhere, and how you get the belt?
Right.
You know, it doesn't make sense.
Wasn't it China, Hardcore Holly, and Chris Jericho? Something like that?
I remember it being Chris Jericho and China. I don't remember
Yeah.
Hardcore being a part, or Hardcore
Yeah,
Holly being part
you're
of the
right.
equation. It was the co-champion thing, and that was awfully strange to me as well
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
something like that. Maybe if they had taken more time to push China, maybe that would have been
I
better.
mean, she got the biggest push you could get as a woman. I mean,
Yeah.
she beating up guys and
But I
got
mean,
a guy's belt.
what about a longer push? More of a starting smaller and then
No, I think
stretching it?
she needed to actually be a woman's wrestler. That's like to your point.
Exactly.
You know, she needed to be. She should have been dominating the women's.
She
division.
did, didn't she?
She did, but it was so short. It was just a blip on the radar.
And
Like
they
Yeah.
pushed
she
her-
came in, she whipped a couple of women, she became women's champion. I think, for all intents, she probably just threw the women's title away. And next thing you know, she's competing for the Intercontinental title.
And that
She needed to have a sustainable run as a women's
is a
champion.
woman champion,
Yeah.
and have her be like the Brock Lesnar of women.
Yeah,
Right.
there
You
you
see
go.
what I'm saying? Now you got to find a John Cena of women to beat this Brock Lesnar of women.
Exactly.
Right.
That would have been more believable than her coming over with the guys
Yeah.
winning Continental Championship. That was ludicrous.
Guys, here's the problem I'm seeing though. She was too feminine to be manly in that division, but too masculine to be in the feminine division in some way. She was
Not
kind of-
necessarily, no.
think so?
Not the retro China that when she first came out with DX with those big guns and the block chin.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she
Looked like a dude back
She
then.
did. She looked like a dude. Yeah.
I mean,
see,
but
that's
you
what I'm saying,
had
it's in
you had
between.
other female wrestlers out there that they could have hired, that could have been her evil or villain that could have went up against her that was just as big, just as strong. So there was more wrestlers out there. They just didn't
You
hire.
know, what's that one? Nicole Bass, right?
Nicole
she was pretty
Bass.
big,
Mhm.
but
Wasn't-
she didn't last that long. right?
No, she wasn't a good talent. She was just
No, she
big.
wasn't.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
not a good talent at all.
absolutely.
She's a
Right.
bodybuilder.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Not a wrestler.
You know, one of the divisions I'm interested in is the TNA knockouts of today. You know, and now they've added Mickey James to the roster. She was another great WWE
good
diva.
worker.
Exactly,
She's a good
exactly. She
worker.
really was good. She
Yeah.
she trained her butt off. Quite frankly, she went through the independent ranks and rose to the WWE status, and she did well there.
She was a top diva in WWE.
Exactly. Yeah. But what I like about that knockouts division is that the women look different. It's not just TNA, if you could forget that expression. You know, forget the expression. But
He's hitting key one.
yeah,
You're hitting key one, Jimmy.
that's Chuck. Actually.
Oh, sorry, Chuck. That's fine. Just pick it up from there. Just pick it up from there. We'll fix it. Just pick it up. Just
Well,
stop
anyway,
there.
I think the TNA knockouts division has a lot of great talent, but it's underrated, I think. And at one point before Hulk Hogan and
Bischoff.
Bischoff, thank you, came in, I thought that really could have skyrocketed to the top, but then they came in and kind of squashed it. I mean, whenever you have a women's match that is the main event of your flagship show on Spike TV, and it's got the best ratings, and the Knockouts division's getting the best ratings in general, why not go with that?
Exactly.
Right.
I
Actually, you know what? I agree with you. I actually do like the women's wrestling for TNA.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty good.
they are.
They're better than the
I-
WWE girls,
yeah.
no doubt.
They're
No
different.
doubt about that.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
They're absolutely different, and that's what I like about it. Is it's not just the pretty looks, like you see in the WWE now, like with the Bella Twins, for example. Yeah, I mean,
They're models.
How do you
Exactly.
guys felt about Wild Women in Wrestling?
Uh,
WOW.
the women.
Women are wrestling.
It was
yeah, I remember.
okay.
Yeah.
It felt more like the revival of Glow, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because Dave McClain ran that.
But they had some good athletes in there, though.
They did.
They
They
do.
had
They
some
do.
good. They were
I
taught well.
You had like Selena Majors.
And
She was
Jungle
good.
Girl.
Jungle Girl
Erica
was
Porter.
good. Terry Gold was the champion. But they never had a chance to really kind of swap the belt. They didn't last long enough.
Right,
They had the
exactly.
one pay-per-view, and that was about it.
That
Yeah.
was it.
That
They
was
ran
it.
out of money, but they had some good athletes.
They did.
I was shocked that WCW or WWE didn't pick up none of those girls because they had some good athletes.
They should have.
They should have.
Absolutely. They really should have. And I think you guys mentioned Ivory. She was one of the Glow wrestlers
She
years
sure
and
was.
years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. And
And she turned out well.
Yeah.
You know what? There's one match, Ivory and Jacqueline. We were talking about how they were good. There's one match where they had a hardcore match, a backstage match, and I mean those girls were really
could
going
go
at
both
it.
of
They
them.
were going at it. I'm like, damn, and that was during the Attitude Era.
They're not afraid to, hit each other, and they're not afraid to work it. And that's the difference when you got somebody that can work and not afraid to take a shot.
Yeah.
Whereas that the girls now, they're more worried about their hairspray than they are taking a bump.
another one I think is good, even in this day and age, as well as even back in the Attitude Era, Victoria or Tara, whatever you want to call her.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was terrific. With that Widow's Peak, finisher that she had was a
Yeah.
real.
She was good. Her and Trish Stratus had a really good match.
They did.
I forgot what pay-per-view it was, but
Yeah.
I know you can check it out on WWE Network.
For only $9.99, right?
Right?
Oh, boy.
Hey, I pay the $9.99.
I do too. No, it is actually a good channel. I enjoy the old school stuff. That's when I don't watch Total Divas or anything
It's,
like that.
it's sad that
Pseudo reality.
It's sad that the WWE has resorted to that because you have to spend the majority of your time reflecting upon the past because your present and for darn sure your future doesn't look that bright.
No.
So that
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, if they was to hire me and say, "Al, we want you to come in and fix this problem," I would fire everybody on staff and start from fresh because
Amen to that.
the whole thing, the way it's being ran, is heading for destruction. I'm calling it the Titanic. I'm just telling you what I see.
yeah.
What is it, like a creative problem or?
Definitely a creative problem. I mean, I don't care what kind of athlete you have in the ring. If the creativity that surrounds him ain't right, it ain't gonna be right.
I think part of the problem is that you don't have enough wrestling people making decisions.
There you
anymore.
go.
Exactly.
You have these people that come out with these communication degrees and they're TV writers, but they're
Right.
not wrestling people.
Exactly.
They don't know anything about wrestling.
Jim Ross are wrestling people, not
Yeah.
someone that went to school and sat in their butt in the classroom and
Exactly.
learned how to write.
Yeah.
These guys understand that
They know the psychology.
they know
of
the
business.
psychology of the sport.
They
They
know the
understand.
fans, they know everything.
You plant seeds along
Exactly.
your storyline. So, like for example, you have two guys that's working as a tag team. There's always that one guy that outshines the other, and then
Yeah.
when that second guy screws the first guy, that's why that seed was planted along the storyline 2 or 3 years ago, and they able to carry it. They don't do that anymore.
No.
Let me ask you this, having been in the wrestling business, now with Jim Ross, or being an announcer in general, don't they tell them what to say now over their headsets?
Now
Are
they
you aware
do.
of that?
Whereas that before, guys like Jim Ross would go out there and do what he does. Whereas that now they're being told what's that way y'all hearing about $9.99, $9.99, $9.99.
Yeah.
I'm like, golly, man, can we talk about the wrestling match?
That's
All
the-
I'm hearing about is the network, because they steady telling, hey, go to talk about the $9.99 stuff. So
And that's a big problem, I think, is that they're not allowing the announcers to
Right.
put over the product.
It's
That's
too
because
scripted.
Vince mortgaged out the business, and so now he's struggling trying to make ends meet to put it back together. So
Exactly.
he has to, basically pimp out the content.
if they don't
To
fix
all
the
these
talent
advertisers.
and if they don't fix the writers, they're not gonna fix the business.
Yeah, and that really comes down to the creative aspect, as we've been talking about. And I tell you what, we're going to wrap it up with our final segment in just a few minutes. Stay with us right here on Wrestling Addicts.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era.
Welcome back to Wrestling Addicts. We're going to wrap it up here with our final segment. You know, in that last segment, we were talking about a lot of the problems with professional wrestling. And let me throw it to a wrestler with experience here, Al. And you were talking about what you would do if you were in control of WWE. And what are some of the specific things that you would do if you were in charge?
The specific things are, first, of course, the talent and the people that's telling the talent what to do. You know, the staff that's doing the script writing, the training, picking out the people that should be on the show, they all need to be fired. Every last one of them, because the product that's being produced now is a C-level product for an A-level company. That's not going to last. You got to have A people on an A team. That's the problem. You got to have A trainers to train A guys on the team. Don't worry about if this guy from Japan or this guy from Africa. If they talented enough, put them on the show. Put belts on these guys. Help them to push this company. Make it to what it's supposed to be on a consistent level. Not 3 months here, maybe 2 months in the middle of the year, then we back down again. I mean, you're going to have people that invested money in the company want to pull their money out. You're going to have fans not buying the products like they're supposed to. You're going to lose the opportunity of gaining new fans. It's just too much of a domino effect that can go the wrong way. And we all know once it starts going this way, it's hard to make it go back the other way. So it's a lot of things that need to be pulled apart and put back together. But it starts from the talent and the people that's running the show.
So in a perfect world, you're running the company. Who's booking?
I will be in charge of overseeing everything. You can't turn no switch on without letting me know what's going on. The company has gotten so large that Vince can't keep his eyes on everything no more like how he used to. Because before it used to be, you better not get no drink of water unless Vince says it's okay.
Right.
Whereas now it's so large, he got people underneath him that's making these calls.
Right.
And you can see the product on TV. Look at the Attitude Era compared to now. It's night and day. Night and day. You don't have guys, back in Attitude Era, you had guys that was on the bench that can be superstars right now. Whereas that now, you have maybe one or two. Look, when Daniel Bryan left, look at it now. But see, Daniel Bryan's a different product because you know why? Because Daniel Bryan did all of the indie circuits. He learned how to do everything you're supposed to learn. When he came on TV, he was a ready product. That's why he just went kaboom and just blew everybody else out. Because he works the crowd. He's good in the ring, good technician in the ring. He also can talk on the mic. You know, he has his own style, but he's good. He's interesting. They pick on him. He's a superhero now.
Oh, here's another one, CM Punk. He worked the indie circuit.
Oh, yeah.
And he became big in WWE.
Compare the guys that work the indie circuit compared to the guy they just pull out of a gym and put them on TV and look at the numbers.
Yeah. Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look at Daniel Bryan versus Curtis Axel. There we go. There we go.
Prime example.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to develop talent. You cannot put nobody out there and expect for it to be Stone Cold or The Rock overnight. It has to be taught. You have to feel it. You have
Takes
to.
time, yeah.
It takes time. When I got into wrestling, I trained for 12 months before I had my first match.
12 months.
It took me 12, and you know why? It wasn't because I wasn't athletic enough. It wasn't because I had opportunity. I knew I wasn't happy with what I saw because I filmed every practice that I did. I went home and I studied it. I watched it. I filmed myself talking in front of the camera, and I watched it. I said, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. When I felt it was right, after 12 months, then I had my first match. 2 months later, I'm on WWE. Because now I'm ready. But if I had went in there 6, 8 weeks and then run out there, I'd have been looking crazy. You got to hit the indie circuit. You got to make your mistakes out there.
Yeah.
You know, fix the problem, go back home. Just like football, study your plays. And when it's time, you get in front of that camera, because you only get one shot. You know, it's live. When you're on TV, you're on TV.
Yeah.
You don't get a chance like in Hollywood, cut, let's go back to tag, let's do it again. No.
Yeah.
When you out there, you out there.
If you botch, you botch.
That's right.
That's right.
And the fans are going to let you know either they're going to boo you, say, get the hell up out of here, or they're going to say, hell yeah, I like that guy. And it's going to roll.
Well,
Right.
now, here's something I wonder. You know, we don't have jobbers anymore to enhance the talent.
Nope.
We have no
Nope.
more enhancement talent because everything has to be A level on Monday Night Raw every single week. Like, you know, you
But
have to
how
have your
can
top
you
stars.
have A level when you don't have A level people
Exactly.
in the system?
Exactly.
And there's a lot of indie wrestlers that they could use for jobbers, at least to help them, get their career started.
Even if you went to using the old talent, but job them in a respectful way.
Oh, yeah.
Make the match 50-50, and at the last moment, the new guy gets over on the old guy. Straight pin. Not nothing cheating, just straight pin. But it's pushing the new guy, and it's still keeping the old guy in a respectful level.
And not at a major pay-per-view either. Because,
Thank
I mean, we were talking on the phone the other day. One of the things I thought was one of the most disrespectful displays of that same issue is you take a guy like, what's the dancing guy name?
Fandango.
Fandango.
You take a guy like Fandango. Yeah, Fandango.
Full dango. There
You
you
take a cat like him and you put him over a legend like Chris Jericho
On
in his
WrestleMania.
first major match in
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
That's an insult.
That is an
Yeah.
insult.
That is
And
an
so,
insult.
like you said, I think you
And
have
it wasn't even a good match.
wasn't
either.
even
And
a
it's
good
not
match.
Jericho's fault either.
Right.
No, he wasn't ready. Fandango wasn't ready.
No,
right.
he wasn't.
Well, okay, well, let's go to the Brock Lesnar squash on John Cena. Did you guys enjoy that match? Did you
That
not
was
like
terrible.
It was horrible.
How you gonna take a champion that represented the business for 15? Well, how long you been in the business now?
It's gotta be
About-
close.
about
Well, he's
close
he's
to
been
that.
there for
12
And he
years,
won the
maybe 12
belt how
years.
many times?
13 times,
15.
12 times.
12
times?
Yeah.
No, I think it's been 15.
I think it's 15.
I think it's
No, it's
15.
15. Yeah,
He
15.
won it
No,
a lot.
Flair is 15 times, isn't he?
Not quite. I don't
I don't know.
I gotta
think-
find out, but I know
We'll
that.
we'll
look it up.
research it and
We
we'll
will
put it
look
on
it
the
up.
screen.
I promise.
That
We'll look
information
it
will be on
up.
the screen. We'll correct that.
But
But
to take an icon
yeah, Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like a John Cena, the Superman of the business, and to have somebody like Brock Lesnar that comes in when he feel like it and leaves when he feel like it,
Yeah.
destroy him like that, that's just a slap in the face
It
to
sure
everybody
is.
that ever stepped in the ring.
it sure is.
Well, now let's say it had been the Big Show instead of Brock Lesnar. What would you guys have thought of that?
I would have been okay with it.
It would have been more believable because at least Big Show has earned his stripes in the business.
Yeah.
The other thing is, he's the kind of guy that you would put over.
Exactly. It's
I-
more
he's-
believable.
it's believable because he's got the size, he's got the charisma, he's
And
a
he's
dominant
athletic.
type of
He's
guy.
paid his
athletic,
dues,
too.
and he's
Yeah,
athletic. He
and
paid his
he's
dues.
loyal to the business.
That's right.
Yeah.
You don't do that. I
Do you
respect.
think the UFC will let a wrestler come over there and do what Brock Lesnar did?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Hell no, it ain't. You better believe it.
But see, it's different in some because wrestling is more entertainment based in Vince's mind.
But they
Something,
wouldn't put-
everything is entertainment.
Right.
Everything is
You're right.
entertainment. But they will not let no wrestler go into the MMA on a live pay-per-view and beat the hell out of no MMA guy.
But that's
Right.
my point. It's because it's a sport.
Well,
it's
I think
legitimate
Al's
sport.
point is you wouldn't see the top guy in wrestling go over there and his second match
Right.
he's in a title match for the UFC
Exactly
title.
not.
Because
Yeah,
they
that's the
wouldn't
kind of
let it
crap that
You gotta-
WWE
you gotta-
doing right now.
you gotta
They
earn it.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Why?
You
Because
gotta
they-
earn it.
Yeah, even when
Exactly.
Brock Lesnar came in, he had to fight several fights before he got his first
That's
shot.
right.
At the
Because
title.
Right.
Dana White wouldn't let that happen.
Right.
Vince McMahon. Because they're not treating it as a sport in wrestling. They're treating it as a show.
You
a
still
theatrical
got
show.
to treat it as a business
You're right, yeah.
to entertain the fans. Because if you lose your fans, you lose what? You lose the business.
Exactly.
Yeah, and and that's another problem too. This whole sports entertainment. They're even taking the word sport out of it now, calling it live entertainment. To me, that's a problem. They're not even calling it wrestling now. They shouldn't be making movies. They should be worried about
And you
their
know,
product.
you
and
know
their
why that's happening? Because, like he said earlier, you got these college graduates coming out with these bright ideas. That's if it ain't broke, don't mess with it, and they changing everything up, and it's affecting the business. That's why the stock for wrestling has gone down. That's why people are not watching them more like they used to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going backwards because you got all of these major changes that shouldn't take place in the first place. Undertaker should have never lost the streak.
Well, you know what? I think we were all talking about this a while back. There's no like sense of urgency. Like back in the Attitude Era, you had the Monday Night Wars. You had to, like me, I was glued to the TV. Like, there's no way I'm missing Raw on Monday. There's no way I'm missing Nitro.
I watched it with the remote in my hand.
Right.
Click, 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 click.
Right.
You know, back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
You don't have competition now. That's
No.
another problem. I mean, I don't consider TNA really big
No.
competition.
Not
right
yet,
They're
no.
not.
No.
Not
They-
at that level.
They make some changes and they just doing better now, but it'll be a while. Whereas that WWE had the opportunity to continue with the Monday Night Wars
Yeah.
when they bought WCW and they put Shane McMahon over there
That-
as
yeah.
being in charge. They should have left Shane McMahon right there, have Vince right over here.
Keep the rivalry going.
Keep the rivalry
Double-
going.
yeah.
It
Double
could have lasted
offense.
another 4 or 5 years easily.
They didn't do it.
Father against son.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
I was.
That's good.
I
That's
think
good
Vince
program.
wanted to
Yes.
just bury WCW. I think he wanted to.
He-
Just,
And
he
that's
wanted
the-
to satisfy
that's,
his
that's,
ego.
that's the mistake they made.
It
They
was.
buried WCW. They brought all those wrestlers over here, and now you got ECW, WCW, WWE all on one show. It was madness.
Right.
yeah.
It was madness.
I mean-
when you could have had WCW over here, WWF over here, and they could have. Now you got a whole new generation of
But see-
wrestlers could have continued the rivalry.
What is Coke without Pepsi? Or Pepsi without Coke? You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
You've
Exactly.
got to have choices. And there
Exactly.
really are choices now. And TNA, they should be at that level. They've been around for 12 years now.
Well, one of the
And
things
they're
that's going to
not
be a
there.
problem is the fact that they don't have the financial resources to compete with WWE. And Vince he's cornered all the major media
Yeah.
markets. You're never going to get a sizable TV deal enough to where you
Yeah.
can have that rivalry where, oh God, am I going to do Raw or they can't even put on a show during Raw
Yeah.
because
Isn't
Vince
It's
is
Spike-
3
bringing-
hours, too. It's
Isn't
3
Spike-
hours.
It's 3 hours. You're not going to get a time slot that's opposing Raw or SmackDown
Yeah.
or any of their pay-per-views. So he's got the game locked down to where the rules are in his favor. Even if you have a better product, you can't even get it out there because you're not going to get the type of exposure that it needs to get the word out to the masses. And one
What
of
if he buys them out?
exactly
Is that possible?
I don't wanna see that.
One
It
of the,
could
I don't
be.
want to see that
Yeah.
either. One of the promotions that I think is understated that I think has the talent, but they don't have the resources is Ring of Honor Wrestling.
Amen to
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And they just
They're great.
they don't have the bandwidth to compete with the WWE because they don't get the exposure.
But neither did ECW, but they really came on strong because it was different, it was new, it was fresh, it was unique.
And Vince
And-
knew that. That's why he killed him. He knew that. They
And you
were a
know
threat.
what? He
Yeah.
stole a lot of those ideas for the Attitude
Yep.
Era.
Of course.
And that's definitely a subject that we're going to have to get
Well, he's a
into.
genius, so got to give that to Vince.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Oh,
a genius.
definitely.
He is
Yeah.
a genius,
Oh, yeah.
very much so. He's a mad genius, but some geniuses have got to be mad, I guess, in some ways.
It's to the point now where I believe that to allow another company come in and be their competition will actually save it right now.
Yeah, so you know what? Will it be able to be fixed? Well, we're not sure, but I do know that we're going to have to wrap it up right here because Wrestling Addicts is coming to an end. I'm Jimmy Anderson, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.